Hi, it's Justin Coletti of SonicScoop, and welcome back for some more MixCon. In today's masterclass, we are visiting with Niko Bolas, who is a producer, engineer, mixer who has been at this for decades, working with some of the biggest names in music production history. He has worked super extensively with Neil Young. He's worked with a ton of major artists like Prince, LeAnn Rimes, Living Colour, Toto, Demi Lovato, Crosby, Stills and Nash, James Taylor, Billy Joel. The list goes on and on. And today he's cracking open a track from the artist Blues Traveler for us and giving us a little bit of his philosophy and approach to mixing. This one is a really fun and interesting presentation. Rather than getting obsessed with the details, he really looks at the big picture and talks about some of the psychology of mixing and music production, about how to trust yourself and get the most out of yourself and out of the artist. Like all of our MixCon masterclasses, this one is free to the public thanks to our sponsors, and the sponsor on this one is a supernatural fit. It is Kali Audio. Kali Audio makes some of the best speakers available today, from the lowest price points to the highest price points, and he has recently outfitted more than one studio with full surround sound Atmos systems that are all Kali Audio speakers. I'm a huge fan of their LP series at the entry price level. They're just some of the flattest, most trustworthy monitors out there. Their IN series are probably one of the best bang for the buck set of monitors in the whole world of music production. And at the high end, their SM series of monitors really compete with any of the best studio monitors made. I know Niko is a big fan and lover of the Kalis as well, and he stacks them right next to studio monitors that cost many times more than the Kalis do. Right after the conclusion of this masterclass with Niko, we are doing a live Q&A where we can take your questions for him and answer them in real time. And we are also giving away more than $10,000 worth of free gear thanks to Kali Audio and all of the MixCon sponsors. There's more than 3 chances to win, so go over to mix-con.com. That's mix-con.com, where you can check out more MixCon presentations and make sure to sign up for your chance to win the more than $10,000 worth of free gear in the MixCon Mega Giveaway. All right, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Big shout out and thanks to Blues Traveler for letting us dive under the hood of their track. Big thanks to Kali Audio for helping make this one free to the public. And big thanks to Niko for doing this presentation for us. All right, let's dive right in. Niko, take it away.
Hi, I'm Niko. I'm here for my good friend Justin Coletti and SonicScoop. Share a little bit about what I do and how much I love it. If I can give anything to anybody that helps them cut to their chase, that'd be great. This is the Surf Shack. We start with a 1949 panhead. Belongs to Sterling Gould, one of the engineers here. This is what he really likes to engineer. Then come in, this is another project. It's an old Sportster from back in the day. Tools, kitchen, surfing stuff. And then in here, well, here's the drums. It's an old Vox. Looks like a Trixon set from the front. It's got the egg-shaped bass drum. And we track here. In here is the stereo side. We do our overdubs, mix. We've got our ATC 50s. Everything's set up. Over here is the Atmos side, or spatial, as they say now. I got a whole shit ton of Kalis, because I love them. I got Kalis for 914 and a couch to take a nap on. Welcome to the Surf Shack. In my studio, I had all kinds of stuff I've used over the years. My room here and the room at the Village that we put together, I use Kalis. I'm not sponsored by Kali and they don't pay me. I just chose them because they're really great. I've always used ATC speakers, and then when I went to build a 914 suite, I couldn't get the ATCs that I've used. They don't make them anymore. And I met Charles at Kali, and he gave me this whole whiteboard on speakers and systems, and it blew my mind. I know nothing about speakers after meeting this guy. It's incredible. But I bought them, and when I have a mix-up on my old familiar speakers and then I switch to the Kalis, I don't change a thing. It just sounds good and I can count on them. So I put them in here because they're very directional and I can really hear my targeting when I do my Atmos. If I want something to be specifically over there or right there, I can hear it. They're my favorite new speakers. So if I'm going to be in public, I wanted to share that with you guys because they're affordable and you can get to music faster when you don't have to sweat buying gear. I also use UAD plugins a lot because they just sound more like the gear that I used to have. Those are the two things about gear that I'll talk about. I don't really have anything else. Everybody uses Pro Tools. Some of my friends use Nuendo. I'm fortunate to work with good assistants that really know how to use it. So when I don't know what I'm doing, I can just quietly get up crying and they'll look at me with sad eyes and help. You can go ahead and comment on that, John. It's fine. Up here at the Surf Shack, Sterling Uhl is our main Harley mechanic and works in the studio, and John Tan and Oliver John's over there, and they're wearing their ties in honor and homage to Al Schmitt. Al Schmitt, he invented all this. He trained David Hassinger, who trained Val Garay, who trained me. So there's a lineage that I'm very proud of. In 2010, he made a bet with me that I couldn't wear a tie every day in the studio if he wore a tie every day in the studio. So I took the bet, and now I'm still wearing ties because he passed away, and I'm afraid I'll get hit by lightning if I don't. The track I wanted to show off is my good friend Matt Rawlings produced Blues Traveler, and they covered Waterfalls, which is one of my favorite songs, and one of the most beautifully written pieces of music, I think. John Popper's the singer, and then Pat Monahan from Train sang a verse, and Daisha McBride sang on it. And I chose this because there's very distinct sections. You know, Popper's playing his harp, and it's kind of a bluesy thing. And then there's your big 808 in Daisha's section where she's doing a rap. And then Monahan comes in with his beautiful voice and he sings a verse, and it just goes through them, but they all make sense together. And I mixed it in Atmos, although I was just hired to mix the record in stereo, but there was so many elements in it and it was fun. So I mixed it in Atmos and then used the binaural as the stereo, because there's just all these genius little percussion parts all over the place, and you can surround yourself in it. But the fundamental thing that's important, and I think if I can share one engineering philosophy or mixing philosophy, no matter what it is, and you know, we've got 914 here in the studio with a sub and all this fancy stuff, it's got to come down to sounding good out of one of these. That's your bottom line. That's the fundamental of production and mixing and songwriting and performance. You know, I always share with cats I'm working with, you have to sound good while you're selecting vegetables at Kroger. It's coming out of a speaker over your head in a grocery store. And if it sounds good there and it's got a groove and a melody, you win. You did something good. So that's what I try to do. So this tune, like I told you, I love Waterfalls. It was a beautiful single when it came out, and the lyrics are beautiful. And I'll just start it and then I'll break down what I got. See what you think. The important first thing I'd like to share with you is what I target when I mix. My target is lowest common denominator. So if you get a groove and you dig it, it's got to go from the 914, like I talked about before, down to your phone. So how I do that is I mix, when I'm here to be able to reference all that, is I have the Atmos here, or spatial, or whatever we're calling it this week. And I can check it around here, and I can put things where I want around the room, and it's a lot of fun. But then I immediately go here and I check it in binaural. And binaural, by design, is supposed to be for headphones. Except that when I went to Apple Music and I hit play, I then saw I was playing spatial. So how many other people do that? This is how we listen, or we have earbuds or headphones. But I think it's got to sound good everywhere. So I check my binaural out of speakers. And I think it's fun. It adds a depth and a space that's really, really good. So when I go to the speakers, I use my ATCs or the Calis back and forth. And then what I'll do is I'll mono it and I'll send it to good old-fashioned Oratones. I bought a set of Oratones. They make them in Nashville now, I think. They're great. They come with a little amp, you plug it in, that's your lowest common denominator. And when I mono and go to that, if I still have a groove, if I still have the rhythm section, and I still have the melody and a backbeat, that's as close as I can get to a Kroger vegetable aisle while here in the studio. When I get a track, especially from somebody like Matt Rawlings or most of the people that I'm fortunate enough to work with, if I'm just mixing, I start with nothing. I hit play on their rough and I listen to what they were digging, and then I get to that balance. Or if they send me that session, I can start there. But they've sent me their session because they're not happy with that. So polishing that is A, lazy, and B, not creative. That's being a very, very overpaid assistant engineer. So I'll get rid of everything and bring it up and start there. But first is just balance. How loud is the vocal? How dynamic is the vocal? Where did they leave it in terms of, is it a really compressed sound? Or is it totally naked and has nothing on it? Is there processing? You make your judgments musically about what that leads you to, and I try to take my first intuition on what that shows me, and I'll take that and try to run with it, all with balance. So you start with the vocal, and then you get your backbeat up to where it's carrying the vocal, and then you put some floor underneath it, pour some concrete, get the bass drum and the bass in there or whatever's downstairs. Could be cellos. You don't know, just whatever the foundation is that's supporting the melody. And then you build from there according to taste. And that's when you need to have speakers that you really trust, because some stuff might hurt because it's too bright or it's too buzzsawy. As far as the mix, there's nothing really to break down or show you cool shit. I mean, the only tricky shit stuff I do sometimes is I'll create my own doubles. I do that once in a while, like on the guitars on this track, is you duplicate it a couple of times and then you stagger them 20 milliseconds and pan them in the room, and it adds a depth. I do it sometimes to backgrounds to add some thickening. Just tweak it until it sounds good to you here. And if it feels good against your body, loud, turn it down, see if it still has that same emotion. If it does, you're right. There's no plug-in preset that's going to be better than you being honest with your tools. They might be a good reference. You can look at what somebody else did, but somebody else came up with that preset on some other instrument on some other day with some other level. So it's really kind of bullshit. Just do what you want and you'll be fine. You'll be cool. So case in point on this Wurlitzer, what did I do? I tried a bunch of stuff and turned it all off because the Wurlitzer sounded good alone. I can't do this. Anytime you see people showing you shit, for me, it's like I can put my hands on the faders and smile and pretend I'm moving them, but it's bullshit. Move your own faders, mix your own record, and trust your own ears and mix from your heart, not from your eyes, and you'll do fine. I don't need to show you me at a console. I've been at a console for 47 years. They all do the same thing. If you move it up, it gets louder. If you move it down, it gets quieter. If you turn the knob to the left, it goes to the left, unless the knob's broken. I use plugins, shape the sound the way you want. I'm not going to turn an equalizer on and off to show you, hey, it's brighter. You can turn a plugin on and off and decide if you like it. You don't need me to show you what I did. What you need, hopefully, is for me to tell you, do whatever you fucking want to do. If it gets you off, you're right. If the artist doesn't dig it, you're wrong. Find out what their adjectives mean. The biggest thing you can do is not researching how I do shit. It's learning what your artist means when they tell you, it's got to sound blue. That sounds red. This sounds like a dish. Figure out what their adjectives mean and get that. Build it for them. Allow yourself to be produced. Get your ego out of the fucking room and get your heart and your brain into the technology that you've been spending so much time on your own learning. You know, when you're by yourself, try every plugin. Download the free versions. Give them all a shot. Crank them, distort them, turn them all the way down. Figure out what they do so that when somebody who's really creative comes in, hands you their precious little project and says, I need this to be a little bit more tearful. You'll go, wow, I've known this person for, 6 months. We've been working together. I think tearful to them means a reverb. This new one that I just got that's really kind of cool. Or the Capitol Chambers. I spent money. I bought the UAD Capitol Chambers. They're worth it. Goes in there and it sounds like it's singing. See if that's tearful. Most of being in the studio actually is not this. If I'm going to have a chance to have an audience, I guess I should share this. The studio is a hang. It's a collection of people getting together and trusting each other to be honest. And it might just be for 3.5 minutes with one lyric, or one riff that means something. You have to be able to be in a room and hang with people and vanish when you need to vanish as an engineer so that they can be fully creative, and appear and be supportive, both as a producer, as an engineer, as an intern. If you have a simple job like go get the food, bring it back hot, make sure the orders are right so that people don't have to feel awkward. Nobody wants to complain. Nobody wants to say, I wanted a cheeseburger and you brought me tuna fish. That these are the simple things that you have to learn. If you can't get a tuna fish sandwich order right, how is a producer supposed to trust you with a 120-piece orchestra? You can't even get a sandwich order right. There's some philosophy for you that I can share. Don't wear cologne. There's a philosophy. Don't wear cologne because you have no idea what the other person's allergic to. Especially singers. They have very volatile breathing and it's their instrument. And you come walking in with some body spray that you bought at CVS thinking that you're, being a fashion person, and they're choking. And the thing to learn if you're a studio manager is that they're going to leave your studio because an artist wants everyone to love them. So they're not going to complain to you and then know every time they come to your studio, the interns are all going, oh man, that person complained, she's a real bitch. He's a real picky singer. No, they're going to go to another studio. And it's because somebody used too much body spray or something stupid. Pay attention. I think the biggest metaphor you can have is to equate everything we do in a studio to that of a maitre d' at a really good restaurant. You got to have a great menu. You got to have a really comfortable place that people dig being. Doesn't mean it's fancy. It means it's comfortable and they feel at home. And the people that are there as wait staff. And I don't mean that in a degrading sense like they're less than, but we are professional at waiting on artists so that they can create. And if I'm a frustrated artist, then get out of this chair and go in the other one and be an artist. But if you're in this chair, that's your gig. So take care of the creative people that sought you out and treat them with the respect and the honor that the arts deserve. So trust your guts. That's it. That's SonicScoop. That's Niko's SonicScoop. What do you wish you'd learned sooner? Surfing is what I wish I'd learned sooner. because I still haven't learned how to surf, and I fall down and I broke my nose last time I went. But in terms of music, I think the most important thing that I wish I'd learned is to not be terrified, to remember that nobody knows what they're doing. People like Quincy might know what they're doing, or Herbie Hancock or the geniuses, but we all know that they are a different breed of people. But for those of us that are just breathing humans, relax and just dig the process. If you're in a room with really talented people, learn that you don't need an ego. You don't need to be important. It's really okay to just be one of many and enjoy being in the company of people that are true artists. And when you get a chance to be a true artist, don't be afraid. Just let it come out, be free with it. And there's no such thing as looking a fool. People that look a fool today are the geniuses of tomorrow. So I think that's the biggest thing, is to just calm down and not be so scared. When I first started engineering, I was so afraid that people would find out I didn't know what I was doing, that I stifled a lot of my own self. It took me a lot of years to get comfortable being in a music environment, because you don't feel worthy, because you love music so much and you have so much respect for it, I would hope, that you don't want to be an imposter and you don't want to be in anybody's way, and you want to be cool and you want to fit in. So for me, I did two things. One is I just tried to be everything for everybody, which there's a clinical name for it. It's called people pleasing. Waste of time. And then, quite frankly, because this is supposed to be an honest, tell all, I did a lot of drugs, and I don't recommend it. It was just trying to find a way for me to medicate away normal anxiety. Those people were as talented as I thought, and I had every right to be nervous. But the fact that I was there never clicked with me, that maybe I was supposed to be there and that I could be part of it, to feel like you fit in. So that's the biggest lesson. What things are commonly misunderstood about mixing and music production? Nothing. It is confusing. There's no right way to do it. You just figure out what works for you, and don't be afraid to do that. And more importantly, don't be afraid to listen to somebody who's trying to share with you what they can do. I've learned the most from cats that were 10, 15 years older than me and further into the process. And I learned the most when I finally stopped trying to feel like I knew what I was doing and just threw my hands up and said, I don't know what I'm doing. And then people share with you genuine little bits of genius, that you can pick up. Val Garay trained me. And for the first 6 months of knowing him, I was a punk, and I just was trying to, show him that I deserved to be there instead of just paying attention. And then all of a sudden, it started to dawn on me what he was showing me and what I was learning. And then I started working with Greg Ladani, and he was an amazing mixer. And he was loud and boisterous and crazy. And, I wanted to be all those things. And that's not me, that's him. But I learned a lot from him just by listening and watching how he balanced and what he paid attention to musically. And those two guys are about as different as you can get, Since then, I've worked with Al Schmitt, and he taught me, the basic rudiments of recording and the fundamentals of production in a studio, working with people. And then I did a record, and I didn't like what I was doing, and I got to work with Bob Clearmountain, who is completely opposite of anything I would choose, artistically, mechanically, engineering-wise. And he's a genius, and it sounded amazing. And I don't know what he did. It just sounds like him. I got to record for Glenn Johns, who was always my hero, and I always wanted to know, how do you sound like Glenn Johns? You know how you sound like Glenn Johns? You hire Glenn. He sat down at the console. I'd cut tracks for him, a band called Dogs Damn More, a punk band. And he wanted me to track it, and I was blown away. So I cut all the tracks, and then we go to mix it, and he says, mix it. I'm going to go to lunch. I'll come back, see what you got. And I says, well, you're got to mix it because I want to learn how to make it sound like you. And he says, don't be ridiculous. He sat down, pulled all the faders down, shoved all the faders up, flurried across the EQ. We were on this API at the Sound Factory, and it sounded like a Glenn record. It was beautiful. And then he pulled it all down. He goes, but this is not what I want. I want you. Cleared the console, and for the life of me, I could not make my tracks sound like they did 15 minutes prior. That's what he sounds like. So let it go. There's nothing to misunderstand except believe your heart, mix from your heart, record from your heart. If it feels good to you, it's right. Doesn't matter what microphone's in front of it or what anything says. What are some things that are truly important and under-recognized? Well, there's some simple things. Eat. There's always enough studio time. You don't have to just work straight through. Take your time, slow down, nourish yourself. Good coffee's important. But the most under-recognized thing is a great musician. If you have a great musician in front of or underneath your microphone, you win. It's going to sound great. Your biggest job is to make sure that they have headphones or they can have wedges or sound in the room that they like and is creative for them, and communication with other musicians. And I think the greatest talent that I would suggest we all learn is how to vanish, how to stay out of the way, how to disappear, so that when there's honest musical communication happening, we're not in front of it. People don't even know we're there. They just, all of a sudden they come in the control room or they turn around and you say, that was really cool. And you can play it back. They didn't even know that they were being recorded. That's when you have a really good day. That's the real shit. And I don't think people pay attention to that too much. They make a big deal out of plugins and their rig and their systems and the studio. And it's not as important as the musicians and the communication. We're trying to play back a feeling. That's it. And if you can get a feeling to play back, it will always have feeling. It will always give you goosebumps or break your heart or make you feel proud or make you cry. That's the real gig. I learned that from Lamont Dozier at Motown. That's what he told me once I was really caught up in this mix. I was working with Steve Perry, amazing singer. We cut this track and Lamont just said, man, all I'm trying to do is sell a feeling. That's some heavy advice. It's simple. Tell us about your overall approach and mixing philosophy. Wow, I wish I had one. I think my overall approach is to, at the end of the day, have all those guys and girls, the people that were teaching me along the way, to be proud of what I'm doing today. I think that would be the greatest thing for me. I've been able to work with, when I was young, I was in the studio with Ronstadt and Bonnie Raitt. I did a record with Dolly Parton, Steve Perry, Don Henley, all these amazing singers and artists, and Toto. Every session, all the cats, Russ and Jimmy Keltner and Steve Jordan and Waddy Wachtel. Waddy would stay with me every night. He would bring me homework. Waddy would bring me homework. He would bring me records, Stones records, Zeppelin records. Say, here, play this. Listen to this. We'd wait till everybody go home, be 2 a.m. We'd hang till like 4 or 5, playing music. And so now my philosophy is I can't let those people down. Cooch, the guys in the immediate family, all those guys raised me when I was real young. Now that I'm old, I want them to see what I'm doing and be proud. I think that's my only philosophy is to give it back. Anyways, hopefully I'll see you guys out there. Have fun.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that MixCon Masterclass as much as I did. That was a really fun and funny one. I just absolutely love Niko's vibe and attitude and the priorities that he puts in the right places. I really love the emphasis on learning to trust yourself, putting the time in, developing taste, and trusting that taste and vision. Big thanks also to Blues Traveler for letting us take a listen to their track, and big thanks to Kali Audio for helping make this one free to the public. As you have seen, Niko has been using Kali Audio speakers in multiple studio builds he's done recently, really relying on them for surround sound systems and stacking them up favorably against monitors that cost many times more than the Kalis do. Check them out over at KaliAudio.com. Also, we are giving away more than $10,000 worth of free audio gear, including Kali Audio monitors, in the MixCon Mega Giveaway. More than $10,000 worth of free gear and 3 chances to win. So go over to mix-con.com. That's mix-con.com, where you can sign up for your chance to win. We are having a live Q&A with Niko right after the conclusion of this video, so that's coming up right now. Hope to see you there.